Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? My name is Kent, and welcome to the nightly broadcast, nightly EOS broadcast, nightly broadcasts about the EOS blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and other things that I can find to talk about on this channel. But basically, I talk every night about EOS. I try to bring an update to the EOS blockchain, about the EOS blockchain. But I want to talk a little bit tonight about the market. Even though some people don't want to hear about the market, we're going to talk about it anyway because it's very important to talk about the markets, because the markets give some indicator of how well things are going. So anyway, a lot of people right now are making the prediction that crypto winter is over with. The crypto winter is done, that we're moving out of crypto winter and we're coming into a new time where cryptocurrencies will be going up. As an overall market altogether. So not just one or another, or maybe Bitcoin or EOS or Ethereum, but together the whole market is going to start rising, all the cryptocurrencies. And actually, that's become something I think is very common. I called for it about a week ago or so. Crypto winter is basically over with. But I see more and more people are starting to join in and make that same prediction. And actually, that prediction is a very easy prediction to make. And I'll show you why it's a very easy prediction to make. And I'm on CoinMarketCap, or actually, I'm not CoinMarketCap. I'm on CoinGecko. CoinMarketCap is the other place to find out about the markets, but I always like CoinGecko a little bit better. One of the reasons is because I can check out challenge token on CoinGecko, so I stay on CoinGecko. But also, I think I like CoinGecko. It's just, to me, it's a little bit easier to use. So anyway, what you're looking at is how far these crypto coins, these cryptocurrencies, these tokens have dropped from their all-time high. So what I'm looking at is this column right here in the red. So since all-time highs, Bitcoin is down 79%. And you see it's still a little bit, it's over 4,000, which is a good barrier for it to go through. And hopefully it'll go a lot higher. I think it will. Brendan Bloomer was talking to you the other night that if it becomes the new gold by everybody, that people use around the world, it could go to 300,000, over 300,000 per Bitcoin. I think that's inevitably where it's going in the near future. He says the next 2 decades, but we'll see. I think it'll be much sooner than that. But if you look at this, these different cryptocurrencies, these different tokens, you can see that, and this is about the third train to go through here in about 10 minutes. So I'm trying to time the video per train, but there's just no way to do it. I don't know what time is it here in San Diego. It's 12:30. We get a train coming through here every 5 minutes, 12:30 at night. So we'll just let it go through. So anyway, if you look at these going down, you can see that Bitcoin's off 79%. Ethereum's off 90%. XRP is off 90%. EOS is off 83%. This is literally a bloodbath. You look at most of these, 90, 94, 94, 89, 95. So when it can only go down 100%. That's the maximum it can go down. It can't go down farther than 100. So when you go down 94% and IOTA is still viable, then it's got to go up. When EOS is down 87, 83%, and dApps are being created, the blockchain is functioning properly as designed, something's got to turn around because it's doing what it's supposed to do. So it can't go down 100%. It goes down 100% and go to zero. But since it's down 83%, the downward side of this is almost as much as it can be. 83, whatever, 90%, whatever you want to say. That's about as far down as it can go because it can't go to 100. Could technically go to zero, but probably won't, especially since it's running and people own the token and they're trading it. And it's on exchanges all over the world and it's growing. And transactions per second are growing. Everything's growing. So it's going. It's continuing to exist. So the fact it's continuing to exist, the upside potential is very easy to predict. It's very easy to predict this is going to turn around because it's fallen so far, as all these cryptocurrencies have fallen so far. So the downside potential is pretty much completely run its course. And now all we have left is upside potential. Here you have Bitcoin Diamond down 99.4%. Oh my gosh. 0.6% from being down to zero, basically, or what it could have been in the very, very, very lowest. So, or very highest. So anyway, I see these going much, much, much higher. They're down so much. There's no way this has got to turn around. They're down so much from where the highest were at. Not that the highest were realistic, because some of these were overvalued, no doubt about it. But when you're off 90%, 80% from highs, you know things are going to turn around. You know things are going to turn around for the upside, because you know Ethereum has gone up over, where is Ethereum here? Ethereum's number 2. It has been as high as $1,400. And when it went that high, it had made thousands of percent increase, thousands and thousands of percent of an increase. So the upside potential is incredible compared to the downside potential. Upside could be multiple thousands of percent, whereas downside can only be down to 100% of where it started. So that's, or 100% from where it was at its high. So you know these can go much higher, but they're probably not going to go much lower, especially in the case of EOS, because like I said, they raised $4 billion. How can they go, down below, much below that? I mean, it's been down in the dollar range, but that's just that's an incredible devaluation of what it is that they're doing and what it is they've had. So I think the prediction of the market turning around is a very valid, very, very safe prediction, and I think it's inevitable. So anyway, I wanted to point that out because I found that little all-time high thing today, and I want to show how much these have dropped. And the potential for dropping more probably isn't that great, but the potential for future increases is pretty significant. So anyway, the other thing I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about the fraud that takes place with credit cards and debit cards. Actually, what I want to do is I want to go to money. I want to read this real quick because. I'm going to start right here. This is a person, money returned to buyer by eBay. Buyer never returned item. This actually happened to us a few times. I don't use eBay anymore. I used to use eBay a lot, but eBay has gotten to the point where if you're a seller and somebody asks for their money back, there's almost nothing you can do to keep that from happening. So if you sell something legitimately on eBay, the buyer's unhappy, the buyer can almost always get their money back and keep the item. And that's the problem with a lot of these online retailers. And I just want to read this real quickly because this is indicative of the stuff that happens. A buyer, and I'm going to read right here. A buyer bought an item from me. He claimed that the battery didn't last long. He opened a case, then closed it. I think he says, then he claimed to have shipped it back. The item never arrived and the buyer never provided a tracking number. He called eBay and eBay refunded the money. I've been asking the buyer for the tracking number, but he never provided it. So I can't find out what happened and or if it ever shipped back. What can I do? How can eBay refund the money even when the buyer hasn't returned it? Also, another problem with another buyer, he bought 2 items. He then contacted his credit card company to fight the charges for one of the items, claiming not to be as described. The buyer never wrote to me for a long message. Okay, the buyer never wrote to me a long message letting me know that there was something wrong with the item. Never answered my messages. Once I followed out, he went to his financial institution and got his money back while keeping the items. What can I do? I feel Amazon is better than eBay. Sorry about the way this is written. I've only sell a few items and have these problems while never had a problem on Amazon. Any other problem will be any help would be highly appreciated. Okay, the reason I read that is because that's happened to us. Not too long ago, my son Chase, which has YouTube, talks a little bit about EOS as well as I do on his YouTube channel, but he had shipped out a pair of shoes. The person claims, I think they claimed that they didn't get them or they got them and they didn't like them. So whatever the issue was, I think they were supposed to return them. They never did. Even though we had tracking number, the shoes never showed up. Basically, they got their money back. And it was an expensive pair of shoes. What it was is he had a pair of shoes that was given to him as an athlete. He was an athlete at Arizona State University. There was a limited edition shoe that got sent out to the athletes. Nobody else got it. It got to be real popular. They're very expensive shoes. I think it was $500 or $600. He had a couple pair because he was an athlete. Got him for being on the team. And then when he tried to sell them after he was done with exhausted his athletic, he couldn't, he was graduated and all this other stuff and got the shoes. Interesting story. You can't do that while you're an athlete because you will be considered ineligible. But after you're done, then I guess there's nothing they're going to do with you. But anyway, he tried to sell them. When he tried to sell them, what happened was the person never paid for them, got to keep the shoes, never paid for that. So this stuff happens. It happens a lot. And I wanted to read this next thing here because I found this kind of interesting. And I found this, even though it's 2016, it was dated just a few days ago. Understanding the modern retail fraud landscape. Fraud, and I'm going to read right here from the very beginning. Fraud cost retailers more than 7.5% of annual revenues. Wow, that's incredible. According to 2016 report authorized by research consulting, whoever, while fraud and chargeback management or processing of dispute credits and credit card transactions consume 14 to 23% of operating budget, false positive accounts for another 2.8 of lost revenues. Additionally, card not present fraud when scammers use online. That's what we're talking about here. Payment channels to bypass face-to-face verification at the point of sale will cost the global retailer $71 billion over the next 5 years. In a new research, or Juniper Research white paper, experts identify confluence of factors, including the shift of EMV, chip cards, delays in payments, security upgrades, and upticks in click and collect fraud, where consumers purchase goods online but pick them up in stores as a primary driver of this fraud pandemic. But what I want to do, let's read a little bit further. By 2021, Jupiter also projects the U.S. and Asia will account for 80% of CNP fraud in the U.S. Final research firm, and I won't read their name, similar the 79% spike in the UK experience. Okay, they go on a little bit further. I want to get down to the last line. Additionally, the Visa infograph says that this is where I want to start reading, that next iteration of 3D secure payment architecture factors 10 times more contextual data like device signature, biometric indicators, and payment history to qualify fraud, risk, and enhancement accuracy. So we talked about that last night. So the ability to have some sort of biometric indicator here involved with the equation could eliminate a lot of this fraud and save millions, billions in consumer fraud and retailer fraud on both sides, the seller and the buyer, as far as fraud is concerned, and credit cards. So basically the way it works today is if a retailer, like say somebody like eBay, and this is just an example, eBay sells something, or you sell something on eBay, and if the person isn't happy with it and goes to their financial institution, you just get a chargeback, and there's nothing you can do about it because of the fact that eBay says the buyer isn't going to pay the credit card if they're not happy. So if they're not going to pay the credit card, we're just going to go ahead and take it against the seller. So this happens, and this seems like eBay is kind of the way eBay runs, in my opinion. So that they just automatically favor the seller. Other people would say, oh, they favor the buyer, favor the buyer. But either way, it doesn't matter which way they favor the seller or the buyer. There's a lot of fraud going on, and without some sort of ability to get in there. And see, this is one of the reasons why this happens, is because of centralized systems. eBay isn't sharing information probably with other retailers like Amazon or anybody else on the internet. Everybody is more centralized and are not sharing this information. So if this information was able to be shared through a decentralized system, the blockchain, and some sort of biometric could be formed as far as an ability to be able to predict when somebody is not paying or not delivering or not owning up to the agreement that they made in that transaction, there's some mechanism involved there that may be able to solve it. And that's what the blockchain does. That's what is going to happen in the future. And that's why the ability to have everything digital will help this and decrease this fraud and make everything run more smoothly and allow people to be safer when they're doing online transactions and doing everything. We've come to the point, actually, I've been an online merchant for a long, long time. Sold a lot of stuff on the internet as services and doing other things too. And I've come to the point now, I feel like the only way I can transact anymore is in digital currency. I won't transact anymore with credit cards, and I won't transact anymore with the slow way of making a payment by check, where somebody that you do business with pays you a check. People never pay checks on time. If you have services that you've given to somebody, first of all, you got to trust that they even send the check. Secondly, you can always count on the check being late. And thirdly, a good percentage of the time, I wouldn't say a large, but a fair amount of times, the check ends up being no good, and there's nothing you can do about it. In fact, to this day, I think my wife has a $2,500 or $3,000 check that she still carries around with her that was given to me for some services that we had done, some web development that we had done for somebody who paid for it but gave us a bad check. And that person was in Chicago, Illinois, and there really wasn't much we could do about it. So she still has, every now and then I see it kicking around her drawer. $2,500, $3,000 check that was never made good. Services were rendered, and there was nothing we can do about it. So it was without money that we lost. But I'm saying in the future, this could be solved with this kind of digital system. And this is a thing that I think will happen in the very near future. This is why this is inevitable to happen. It has to happen because the fraud and the deceit continues to grow, especially when people start to understand that they can get away with it. And they can understand there's a flaw in the system. They can understand that the system does not send, the centralized systems don't talk to each other. So there's no way eBay is sharing information with Amazon or anybody else. I mean, it's a very centralized system. So I think this will put more money back in to the economy. It'll take out the bad actors, and it'll make everybody more secure, be able to trust what's going on online much easier. So anyway, this will be the inevitable way of doing it. Market has bottomed out. It will turn around, and digital is the future. So anyway, that's the way it is. Appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.